Yes, guys, I'm here with Zeze Millz, the great Zeze Millz. This is Get Real with Rio Ferdinand. Listen, man, really excited to have you on because, you know, I've been watching you for a long time.
That's so weird for me to hear. And it's also weird for me to be here. I always find things like this very weird for me because I've grown up watching you or seeing you, or you've always been like over there, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
like when you come into this world, then you start interacting with people like yourself. But it's still always like with my management, we're like, oh, like Rio wants to have a conversation. I was like, why? What's there to talk about?
No, you
I
know
genuinely
why?
always have these
No,
like
it's because
imposter
like,
syndrome.
I don't know how long it's been like. It's over 4 years, maybe 5 or 6 years, maybe, that I've been seeing you doing your interviews, but also from a social media perspective,
Right.
and just seeing you like be that unapologetic voice and just like saying, I'm going to stand up for black women. I'm going to be as open and as honest as I want to be without worrying about the reaction. So I thought I'd just love to get you on. And like me and my missus, you know, we get in bed, you have a little debrief, and then you go on your social media for a little while, and you normally always say, look at this, what she's saying. So yeah, I'm just excited to have you here. Listen,
No, thank you for having me.
for the
honestly.
people that don't know, who are listening, because there are going to be some people out there that don't know either of us, but just can you give us a little bit of background as to who you are?
So
and
yeah,
what you're doing?
I'm Zeze Millz, and I started just on my phone. Actually, I just started this thing called Headscarfdiaries,
That was sick.
where I just used to talk about things that it could be anything from men to service charge to walking a dog. Literally, it would be anything, like anything that happened that week or that day that I was like, why do we do this, or why does this happen? But before that, before I started doing the Zeze Millz stuff,
It was
I
acting,
actually
wasn't
wanted
it?
to do acting. Yeah, that was my passion. That's what I went to theatre school. I did like loads of drama exams, all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, in life, things don't work out how you want them to work out, or things are maybe taking longer than you wanted it to take. And with acting, it's a really weird profession because you're constantly like auditioning for things, you're not getting them, and then for me it was just making my self-esteem go really low. Like you start thinking, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I not getting cast for this? And this was something that I've wanted to do from when I was like 4. So my mum says anyway. So she says that's all I've always wanted to do. So from that young age, I was always in that world, and that was always my desire. And I got to about 25, and it just nothing really was happening. And 25 is still young, but you want to start making ways in your career or something.
I heard you talk about that because 25 is young.
Yeah.
It is young, yeah, but social media will make you think it ain't, and like you're past it, you're finished. How did you kind of deal with that? Because you would have been getting told, listen, you're done, you can't do nothing in life.
I think when I was 25, I wasn't out there as much as I was now, if that makes sense. So it was more myself, how I felt. And because I've always been around, again, I've always been in this world, a lot of my peers were doing really well. And so that made me feel like, what am I doing with my life? So no one really knew me then. So I was in kind of like a nice space of, it was just an internal thing. But yeah, you look on social media and you see all people that you've gone to school with, or people that are your peers doing really well. And you might feel you're just as talented as them, and you're like, so why is it, when am I going to get my turn? There's just loads of, but it was a really difficult time. I found it really, really hard because I had to find something else that I was passionate about. And that's one thing that when I speak to people, sometimes I go to like colleges or unis and stuff like that, and I'll speak to young people, and I always say, I know in life we're taught not to have a plan B, but I feel like everyone should have a plan B that you're just as excited about as your plan A, if that makes sense.
So your plan B was what? And was your plan B set up, or was your plan B a reaction or reactive?
Yeah, it was reactive.
Okay.
I didn't have like anything else that I thought I was good at, or that I would be okay at doing, or that I would be passionate about. And even then, the Zeze Millz stuff, like how you see me on doing Headscarfdiaries, that was kind
funny, man.
I stopped doing it, but I always say I want to go back to doing Headscarfdiaries. But even that, I was still working full time. So only in the last like 3
Doing
years,
what?
I was working in marketing. So I found something outside of this world, well, not in front of the camera, behind the camera, that I was enjoying, and I was starting to feel fulfilled in. And I was like, do you know what? If I never get to do any like acting or any kind of talking or whatever, I'm happy to kind of be behind the scenes and help brands understand how to reach people like me, or understand people like me, or understand our demographic or my demographic. So I started to find a passion in that. And then the Zeze Millz stuff kind of started taking off during lockdown. And that's when I kind of was like, and I got made redundant as well. So I was like, okay, let me give this a proper go. And then that's kind of when I, got management and all those type of things. And then it went to like,
Was it all just social media driven at the beginning to get your face out there? Because that's where I first started seeing you.
It was all just social media on my phone. And then I realized that people were really connecting with it, like just especially like women, and especially black women, because in the beginning I was talking a lot about, dark-skinned women not being represented enough, and why I felt like we was always at a disadvantage, and a lot of black women really kind of...
Why successful black men go out over white women and not black women?
Well, yeah, that was I used to talk about all the time. And do you know what? I still have these things I still see, and I still like either roll my eyes or maybe give my opinion on. But as time goes on, sometimes I used to get so much backlash when I would ever talk about that. Like if I ever spoke about that, then it was... you're a hater and da-da-da-da-da. And it was just like, it's not that. It's just, as a black woman, this is how it feels, or this is what it feels like when you constantly see that, or when you see someone's standard of beauty and we're never included in what people see as beautiful. Like when I have kids, what am I going to tell them, or how are they going to feel? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm always curious about things like that, and I always look at society and I think, oh, why is this or why is that?
Back to how you started, like with the social media, then all of a sudden, like, you've got your own shows, which are either on social media, digital, but then also linear TV.
Yeah.
On Channel 4, your own show. Like, that's a mad journey, and it seems quick, and it probably is in relation to other people's careers who started maybe at 11 years old and then they eventually get there at 20 odd years old.
Right.
But tell us how that journey has been for you, because there's a lot of young people who are starting out on social media who are hoping to get where you are and tread the same pathway as you.
I always worried about whether TV would want me on TV because I was so outspoken and and I get it as well. One thing with me is I might complain about something, even if I complain about why black men go with this, I can take my emotions out of it and be like, well, you know what? I see I get this. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I get it. I'm able to like look at things like that.
Logic.
Yeah, I can take my emotions out of things. So I always understood that, why would a brand want to like associate themselves with someone that they don't know what's going to say, what you're going to say tomorrow? Like, do you know what I mean? I might be on Twitter tomorrow being like, and now they've got to be like, oh, she's a part of our brand. Shit, why she said this? Now I get all of that. So I understood that it might take a longer time for me, but I realized there wasn't really a lot of people just saying how they felt. Everything was PC and what they thought was right. So I just was true to myself, and it took a longer time. But I think Channel 4, especially those networks, they valued that. They valued the fact that I was outspoken, and also in time I learned how to be outspoken in the right way, if that makes... I think there's a
Still being PC a little bit.
Yeah, because you have to learn the balance, and you have to compromise. I think sometimes, like a lot of young people, they don't want to compromise. They don't play the game.
I love chatting about this,
You have to compromise a little bit. You got to learn how to play the game. That's what I always say this to my cousin. There's certain times when things happen, and I look at my cousin, I'll be like, you just got to play the game. Play the game. There's things where you just see things, you see things, you're like, what is that about? And you just think, let me just keep quiet, play the game.
Even going into a room though with the decision makers, there's a way how do you see the way that you have to carry yourself? Because I know that there'll probably be a way, you tell me if I'm wrong, that you'll carry yourself within your friend circle to what you'll then walk into a room of decision makers in a business that you're going into. You might alter the way that you carry yourself and the way that you speak a little bit, or not?
No, for me, no, because everyone kind of knows what I'm about already. And I think that's what I was saying earlier, because I've kind of always stuck to my true self. It's, I stick to that. The thing that people do always be like, oh my God, they're like, oh my gosh, you're actually so nice. It's like, what do you think I was going to be like, this bitch? Like,
Zeze the dragon.
Yeah, like I'm walking like, I don't like your trainers because, you know what I mean? It's like, I can be both, I'm opinionated, but I'm also very chill. So a lot of times people are like, oh my God, you're so chill and you're so whatever. But like I said, I've just been able to, and also again, that was my whole thing about getting on TV. I didn't want to have to change myself. I didn't want to have to talk a different way. I didn't want to have to, I didn't want to have to rejig myself totally. There's times when, like if I'm going to go on a podcast and it's not, and I might be able to swear a bit more or be a bit more if I'm on BBC News, then no, I'm not. You just have to, it doesn't mean you're changing, it's just knowing when to bring that type of, vim or whatever you want. So I've been okay with that. But yeah, the TV thing, it was, I can't tell you how it happened, but what it was people believing in me, yeah. Like Jamal Edwards, rest in peace, he really believed in me, and he believed in what I was about and what I brought to the culture. So he really like championed me at Channel 4. And I think sometimes that's what you need. Like sometimes these big networks are scared to touch people that they're a bit cautious of, or they, because before that I was having loads of meetings. You know how it is, you have loads of me. Oh, we really like her, but we don't know what to do with her.
Oh, so even you gone through that?
Oh
where
yeah,
you
like
meetings
oh my
over
God.
meetings over meetings.
Like,
okay, good.
During lockdown, oh my God, Zoom call after Zoom call after. Oh, let's do a brainstorm, or let's do this. Okay, we're going to take it to this. Like, honestly, even up to now, it's like, oh yeah, we just, we like her, but we're just not sure what we want to do with her. Like, honestly, all of that still.
So what was that moment then? So when was that moment where you went, oh my gosh, it's changed now for me?
I think when I was this was able to be my actual living, and I was making money off it, and I didn't have to.
You're making big peas now, yeah?
Well, I wouldn't say big peas, but
you are, man. Don't lie. You got a little dog, man, carrying around over with you. You come in with a chihuahua,
Dave, everybody's
Yeah.
that's my, like, I'm single and I live on my own, so I have to have something there. Do you know what I mean?
But you talk about pinch me moments. Like every time I see you doing interviews, you're interviewing like big guys, especially from like our culture.
Yeah.
From the music scene, that I'm sure that they would have been on your Spotify anyway. Like, what is that like for you, for someone who's come from a digital background in terms of where we first started seeing you, to being sitting there and having that pinch me moment?
It's weird. Like when I did Ed Sheeran, I was like,
That was mad.
I'm like, this is Ed Sheeran. And he was so like, he was so good with everything. Again, that was Jamal Edwards that, obviously Ed wanted to do it, but Jamal was the one that was like, made sure it happened. And even when we was supposed to film it, he caught COVID, and I was just like, oh my God, we're never going to do this interview. Like, it's never going to happen. And again, I knew it was happening. And I was like, oh my God, he's caught COVID. He's caught COVID. I was like, he's never going to do it. And it's funny because I was talking to Stormzy and I said to him, oh, he's got COVID now. Stormzy's like, trust me, Ed is a man of his word. He'll do it, Z. Don't worry, he's got to do it. And I was just like, okay, cool. Because he was like, don't panic. And he did. He's like proper a man of his word. He came through. He was like so cool about the edit. Like he was just like, whatever you like.
Yeah, that's nice.
Whatever. And those things are just so weird to me. And then I even got sent a big giant penis. Did you see that?
What?
Yeah, Ed Sheeran sent me
Well,
a big
the show's
giant
going
penis.
a different way. What?
Yeah.
For what?
Because Ed Sheeran sends like these big marble like penises to like his
People
mates.
he works with, yeah.
Like he sent one Elton John. So in the interview, I was like, oh, I heard that you sent Elton John this big marble penis. Is that true? And he was like, yeah, Z. He's like, do you want one? I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I do. Like, I have to have
so
one.
So you can set a stage in your house?
It's just like there at the door as you walk in. It's just like this big black thing there, and everyone's just like, where's that?
Conversation starter.
And then when you say, oh yeah, Ed Sheeran sent it to me, it's like, how cool can you get?
What is your relationship with social media?
It's so weird at the moment because I literally just came back from filming something and I didn't have my phone for like 10 days. And I thought that I was going to struggle with not being on socials. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed just being able to switch off from everything. Because like you said, things will happen and I'll get DMs and people are like, Zeze, what's your opinion? Or why haven't you said anything on this? Or I'll do a joke video about my nails. There's people dying. Why are you doing this video? And it's just like, oh my God. Of course there are people, and I get that, and I understand that. But also, there's other things as well that are going on. So it's always like a battle. So when I had that time away, it was really nice, and I was just kind of like out of the loop, and I had to give my phone in, so I didn't have a choice. Because on a normal day-to-day, I definitely don't have the discipline not to go on social media. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I could do a week. No, like I wake up, I'm like, scrolling in the cab, scrolling, everything. I'm hooked to it. I'm not going to lie.
Work though, isn't it, as
exactly,
well?
yeah. So for me, it was just so nice to be detached. And then when I did come back and I got my phone, I felt really weird. I didn't mind scrolling through, but when I went to post, it felt weird. Like, what are people going to say? Or have I been away for too long? And I think when you are on social media and that is your job to kind of comment on what's happening, you do feel this like anxious feeling always of if I'm not on trend, or if I'm not, knowing what's happening.
You'll be judged for it.
Right, yeah, or are people going to forget about me? Or are people going to forget about my opinion and all these type of things? And I think sometimes the battle is where you get things off your chest. Sometimes you might go to Twitter and be like, ah, or you might just go to your friends. And I think I've learnt more to kind of go to my friends, because what happens, I think sometimes you can be made to question yourself. And I think sometimes when you go back and forth with people online, like trying to prove like, well, this is the reason why I did it. I know why I did it. I don't need to tell you. Like, I'll say one thing and then I'm not saying anything after this.
I think that the key thing in stuff like that is not feel that you have to justify yourself to people. I think that's one of the big things online, is like, you know what you're saying. There's a reason you've said it publicly. You believe it. Yeah. So why are you then justifying it to anybody, to people you don't even know? But
it's hard. It's a difficult thing, because especially if you think you're a cool person, and then people are trying to paint you out online to be this like malicious person, or, oh, you're just this, you're just that, and you know you're not that. It's hard for you not to kind of justify yourself. But as time has gone on, like you said, you just think, well, what's the point? You've already got that opinion. And I just look like I'm begging you to believe me, and I don't need that. So I just think, the tools that the social platforms put in place, the block button, use that to protect yourself, and also just find ways. I've got, like I said, if I see something that's a mad long paragraph and it starts off wild, like, oh yeah, I won't read it. I'll read like the first couple words, and then I can tell where this is going, and I know it's gonna send me somewhere else. So I'm not even gonna read it. Bye. And that's how I just kind of I deal with it. But it's a weird space, definitely. Yeah.
All right, listen, thank you very much, Zeze. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming and giving your time.
Thank you.
Get real with Rio Ferdinand. Let's go.